Kai Levis had never meant to disrupt the quantum balance of anything, let alone the heart of an alien girl with glow-in-the-dark cheek ridges and a walk that looked like it had been choreographed by gravitational waves. He just wanted a night out with his crew, a couple of synth beers, and ideally, no accidental interspecies proposals. And yet, "Come on, Kai, admit it," Juno said, leaning over the stained, plastiform table of the only pub this side of the Andron belt that still served actual salt. "You've got a thing for the weird ones. You swiped right on a crystallian, that's like dating an opera house." It wasn't a date, it was coffee. She vibrated at D-sharp when she laughed, it was charming. Ren snorted synth beer out of his nose, which immediately began to foam. "You're gonna die alone or married to an architectural feature." Kai raised his hands, grinning. "Look, I'm open-minded. That's called maturity. Also, xenophilia is statistically linked to emotional intelligence." Sure, Juno said, rolling her eyes. "So what about her?" Kai turned, instinctively following the direction of her chin. Across the bar, partially lit in the soft indigo haze of a low-atmosphere emitter, stood a girl. No asterisk being. Female-presenting, humanoidish, tall, lean, and composed like someone who had never once been told a joke in her life. Skin like pearl under frost, hair coiled upward in metallic strands, moving subtly with shifts in gravity. Her clothing shimmered like refracted star maps. She held a glass that hovered politely just above her palm, didn't sip, didn't blink. His throat betrayed him. I'd say yes if she proposed. The words hung in the air like a fire alarm in zero-G silence. Then came the laughter, loud, unfiltered, obnoxious. Ren slapped the table. Juno did a spit take so powerful it sprayed the holographic jukebox into skipping tracks. Someone in the corner yelled, "She's out of your orbit, bro." But Kai wasn't laughing. He couldn't, because she had turned. Her eyes, deep and bottomless like ocean trenches on a planet no one had dared name, were fixed on him. Not in annoyance, not confusion, intent. She took a step, then another, and another. The crowd shifted, parting not out of courtesy, but as if some old instinct whispered, "This is not someone you delay." Her movements were perfectly human and utterly not. She walked like someone who had studied walking, aced the test, then upgraded the syllabus. Kai tried to gulp and instead hiccuped. She stopped right in front of him. The table's edge shimmered faintly in response to her proximity. Her voice, when it came, was low and crystalline. "Then I ask." Ren fell off his chair. Kai opened his mouth. No words came out. He flapped, which felt dignified for roughly half a second. "Wait, it was a joke." Her eyes narrowed a fraction, which was, he supposed, better than narrowing several fractions. "Your statement contained no indicators of deception or humor. It registered as sincere. Proposals in Thelian tradition begin with a declaration of intent." "Well, sure," Kai said, heart thudding like bad plumbing. "But I was mostly kidding. You know, for laughs. You've heard of laughs, right?" "I am aware of the function of humor," she said. "It is the primitive mammalian coping mechanism for existential dissonance." "Well, that's one way to describe this exact moment." She tilted her head. "Your name?" Kai Levis, of Earth. Not currently engaged, or bonded, or emitting any mating pheromones, I think." "I am Sura," she said. "Of the Thelian remnants, designation no longer relevant. You have made a declaration, it has been heard. We are now in initiation phase." "Wait, what?" "Phase 1 begins immediately." And just like that, the pub changed. It wasn't dramatic. There was no sudden flash, no sound of thunder or rip in the fabric of reality, though frankly, Kai would have appreciated that. Instead, everything around them simply dimmed. Like someone had whispered to the universe and it had politely stepped outside for a smoke. Kai looked around. Ren was frozen mid-fall. Juno's beer droplets hung suspended in midair like tiny planetary systems. The music had halted on a single note that hovered in his ears but refused to finish. Sura extended her hand. It shimmered faintly. "Your awareness must be realigned. Please remain calm." "Realign what now?" A sudden pulling sensation, like falling backward into a thought he hadn't yet, swallowed him whole. Kai came to lying on something that wasn't solid but refused to be called soft. Above him, a ceiling that looked like layered glass rotated in geometric loops, stars glittering between the panes. He sat up too quickly, the nausea announcing itself like a diva. A dome surrounded him. Outside, a massive ship drifted in the void, shimmering like it had been folded from moonlight and equations. "Sura," he croaked. She was beside him. Not seated, not standing, hovering legs folded, hands clasped in her lap like a meditation adrift. "You are awake. I'd like to report a kidnapping." "You volunteered." "No, I made a joke." which for the record was asterisk hilarious. I got laughs. Juno did a spit take. There is no higher ceremonial confirmation than audience response, Sura said. Laughter validates intent. You can't be serious. I contain 0 micrograms of humor organelles. My people evolved past them after the great irony collapse. He blinked. That sounds made up. It was. She blinked once. See, I am adapting. He groaned and lay back. Okay. Deep breaths, just gotta figure this out. You said something about a phase. You have invoked a binding intention. As per Thelian rite, it initiates a triune trial of compatibility. Upon success, union is sanctioned. Upon failure, neural threads are severed and memory recoded. Memory recoded? You will forget me, all of this. He sat up again. That's horrifying. She shrugged, a motion that looked rehearsed. Only slightly. And if I just say no now? The rite was heard. Cosmic mechanisms are in motion, declining after the first exchange risks imbalance. Imbalance? The sort that causes gravity wells to weep and causality to hiccup. He stood. You've got to be kidding. I have not yet begun to kid, she said with the faintest flicker of amusement. Kai looked at the ceiling. Okay, universe, you win. I make one joke, *1. And now I'm cosmically engaged to a sarcastic alien princess with cheek ridges and a ship shaped like origami. The ceiling did not respond. Sura floated down beside him, her expression unreadable. You are taking this well. I'm about 10 seconds from trying to seduce the control panel just to see if it'll eject me. That would be unwise. It is emotionally fragile. Kai blinked. You're joking again? Am I? And for the first time since the galaxy tilted sideways, Kai laughed. Not because it made sense. Not because it was okay. But because in that moment, with a cosmic wedding looming and his friends trapped mid-laugh somewhere far behind him, it was the only thing that did make sense. And because he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to say no. Not yet. The ship decided to wake him up by serenading him with whale song. Kai groaned, eyes crusted shut, and rolled over onto something suspiciously warm and humming. His head felt like someone had tried to encode a philosophy thesis into his skull using blunt instruments and bad intentions. He was vaguely aware of being wrapped in something soft, but also sticky, but also sentient. Rise and align, Kai Levis, a calm, melodic voice said from somewhere above, or maybe inside, his eardrum. He pried one eye open. The walls pulsed faintly with light, like the whole room was breathing. Am I dead? Be honest. No. You are aboard the *Ilex 9, a Thelian-architected interweave vessel. You are within the embarkation chamber, also known as the snuggle pod, colloquially. Kai sat up so fast the thermal cocoon emitted a sad warble and released him with a sound like a wet sigh. Sura stood nearby, impossibly composed, holding what looked like a steaming mug. The steam danced in defiance of gravity, forming small spirals that shimmered in a color his brain refused to name. You survived the transfer. Good. There was a 22% probability your cerebral matter would diffuse into metaphoric jelly. I'm sorry, did you say *metaphoric jelly? Sura sipped her drink. Your species seems to fear literal damage more than existential ones. I calculated accordingly. Kai stumbled to his feet. The floor squelched, then quickly retracted the squelch into a polite ripple of hardness. Right. So, just to get us on the same page, this wasn't a dream. I am in a ship powered by magic science, and I'm apparently on the hook for interspecies bonding because of a joke. Sura tilted her head. Correct. And there's no way to, I don't know, press Ctrl+Z on this. Your metaphors continue to be charmingly obsolete. No, we have entered phase 1. It is irreversible unless you expire. Oh great, fantastic, that's comforting. He paused, looking around. Why is everything vaguely moist? The ship prefers hydration. It evolved from a biomechanical coral spore. Of course it did. He spotted a mirror, or rather, a reflective panel that gave him back his face in full betrayal. Why am I naked? The cocoon removed your garments for sterility. Your biopatterns have been scanned, and your replacement attire has been harmonized to your soul frequency. A tube next to the wall burped out a folded jumpsuit that shimmered like it couldn't decide what color it wanted to be when it grew up. I look like a mood ring, Kai muttered, pulling it on. It fit perfectly. It also adjusted every time he thought something embarrassing. He could feel it. Please tell me there's a bathroom. The ship provides a reclamation alcove. It recycles waste into narrative energy. I don't even want to know what that means. You will find it metaphorically satisfying. I'm already metaphorically terrified. The door hissed open, and the hallway beyond twisted in gentle curves. glowing softly like a whale's belly. Kai followed Sura, trying to look less like a confused space tourist and more like someone whose destiny hadn't been triggered by a stupid joke. So what exactly is Phase 1? Do I have to, like, solve a riddle? Win your heart in battle? Prove I can cook? You must come to know me, she said without looking back. That is the first requirement of any binding. Honest convergence. I barely know myself. Are you sure you want me to try that in reverse? We begin with memory mapping, she said, arriving at a door made of braided light. This chamber will allow us to share neural strands temporarily. You will see selected memories from my thread. I will observe your responses. Wait, you're just going to beam your life into my head like a bad documentary binge. Would you prefer a PowerPoint presentation? He held up his hands. Nope, neural thread sharing sounds perfect, totally normal Tuesday. The door opened with a sound that reminded him of harp strings being plucked underwater. Inside was a dome-shaped room filled with floating spheres, each pulsing with dim color. At the center was a reclining platform shaped vaguely like a spoon. Kai approached it slowly, eyeing the memory orbs. They're not going to try to crawl into my brain, are they? Only consensually. That doesn't make it less creepy. He laid back. The platform adjusted, cradling him like a grandmother who'd also studied aerospace engineering. Sura sat across from him in a mirrored seat. The lights dimmed. The first orb floated down. It hovered just above his forehead. Then, without ceremony, it sank through his skin like a warm drop of water. Suddenly, he was 6. Or maybe she was 6. It was a child's perspective, anyway, watching a sky made of vertical stars as adults in long, translucent robes argued quietly. He could feel confusion, longing. The sense that something massive was being decided and she wasn't being told what it was. Then the memory shifted. Years passed. He was in a training hall. No, she was. Her limbs moved through impossible forms. Language etched itself into her skin. Teachers watched silently, one nodding only when blood had been drawn and reabsorbed through osmosis. Kai jerked slightly. That was intense. More to come. Another orb entered him. This time it was a battle, or something like a battle. Shadows tore through light. The sound was hollow but constant. Sura, older, stronger, scarred, stood over a fallen creature with too many eyes and a voice like broken instruments. She spoke a word and the creature dissolved into leaves. When the vision ended, Kai was panting. Okay, he said between breaths. You have had a dramatic childhood. Mine involved popsicles and being afraid of the neighbor's cat. Good. Contrast is essential. Also, I may need a snack and a therapist. You will be provided both. The ship offers emotional simulations with an AI named Greg. Greg, short for Gravitational Empathy Engine, of course. Sura tilted her head. You handled the mapping adequately. This is promising. I feel like I've just binge-watched your life on ultra-fast forward, and I still have no idea who you are. That is the point of Phase 1. Kai sat up, rubbing his temples. Let me guess. Next I get to share my memories and you get to judge my Earth-based traumas? Yes, but not today. The ship detects stress levels approaching comedic failure. What? You are at risk of becoming unfunny. Kai blinked. This ship has metrics for my comedic timing? Yes, it is concerned. Your joke output has dropped 38% in the last hour. He chuckled despite himself. All right, then I demand snacks, a nap, and Greg. Sura stood. Agreed. Greg awaits in the recreation cortex. He has prepared a memory garden based on your subconscious preferences. If there are popsicles, I'll cry. There are 12 flavors and an emotional support flamingo. Kai groaned into his hands. This is the weirdest honeymoon I've ever been on. You acclimate well. He followed her out, still reeling, still unsure, still not entirely convinced this wasn't all a very elaborate hallucination. But when Sura looked back and almost, not quite, smiled, he found he didn't mind not waking up just yet. Kai had once told his roommate back at Terra Nova Academy that he'd rather wrestle a plasma eel in zero gravity than fly anything manually. That declaration had returned to haunt him, spectacularly, as he stood now on what the ship insisted was a bridge asterisk, despite it looking like someone had mashed up a Zen garden and a synthesizer factory. The controls weren't buttons or levers. They were smooth, hovering glyphs that glowed when you thought near them. Thought, not touched, not even willed. Thought. I'm not flying this thing, Kai said, backing up slightly from the control dais. I've killed 2 drones and an espresso machine by thinking too hard around tech. There are warning labels on my forehead in 3 languages. Sura raised a brow, or performed a reasonable approximation thereof. This trial requires direct mental interface. The ship responds to emotional modulation and cognitive imprinting. You must be at the helm. Kai turned to the ship. Hey, Greg, can we just, fast-track this part? Maybe pretend I did great and skip to the next romantic catastrophe. A holographic flamingo materialized beside him, wearing a bow tie and the blank expression of someone who's seen things they can never unsee. Greg flapped once. Protocol states emotional bonding trial must include interstellar navigation through metaphorical peril, Greg intoned, sounding suspiciously like a board game show host. Skipping this segment would void warranty on all character development arcs. Kai threw his hands in the air. Fantastic. You people and your rules, can't we just go on a picnic or something? Sura turned toward the console. You have been assigned a course. The ship will initiate thrust once cognitive lock is established. The hollow star awaits. Kai blinked. Wait, you mean the asterisk hollow star? The artificial singularity that eats ships for brunch and once emitted an apology in Morse code. It is misunderstood, Sura said, like many powerful things. Kai sighed. I am a mildly attractive bartender with a degree in cultural anthropology and a brain full of pop song lyrics. I am not suited for misunderstood black holes. The hollow star is not a black hole. It is a hyperconstruct of memory recursion, stabilized by ancient willpower and theoretical geometry. You'll be fine. You say that like people don't come out of that thing speaking only in riddles and knitting patterns. They lacked focus. I lack basic survival instinct. Sura stepped closer, her voice quiet. You are more capable than you believe, you just haven't had a proper audience. Kai stared at the control glyphs. They pulsed gently, awaiting his thoughts. He could feel their curiosity, if that was possible. It was like standing in front of a door that wanted to be opened but wouldn't push. Okay, he said. Okay, fine, I'll try. But if I accidentally summon a fourth-dimensional cat again, I'm blaming you. Understood. He stepped forward. The dais hummed. The air thickened like soup left to cool mid-thought. Symbols rose around him like bubbles in slow motion, each one tuning itself to the pattern of his pulse. Greg began humming elevator music. Kai tried to think asterisk forward. Not in words, those didn't work here, but in feelings, curiosity, movement, urgency, and maybe, deep under it all, a slight desire to impress a certain silver-skinned space enigma who could probably bench press a moon. The ship shuddered, then surged. Stars bent sideways. The viewport stretched as they accelerated toward the impossible. He wasn't sure if they passed through space or if space rearranged itself to accommodate their enthusiasm, but one moment they were surrounded by the comforting speckle of distant galaxies, and the next they were floating before the hollow star. It was wrong. Not visually. Visually it was quite pretty, in a asterisk don't stare too long or you'll forget your name kind of way. But asterisk conceptually asterisk wrong. It looked like a star wrapped around itself, folding and refolding, a recursive loop of heat and absence. Occasionally it whispered, not in sound but in suggestion. Do I want to know what that whisper was? Kai asked. It offered you a memory. Of what? Of something you haven't lived yet. Kai gulped. Right, fantastic, this trial is starting strong. Sura floated beside him now, her posture relaxed as if this was a perfectly normal Sunday activity. You must enter, navigate to the center, locate the anchor point. We will monitor your integrity. My what now? If your selfhood disintegrates under the strain, the ship will reconstitute what it can. What it asterisk can asterisk, that's not the confidence boost I was hoping for. Sura offered a small nod. Trust your instincts or your jokes, either works. Kai clenched his fists, took one last look at Greg, who offered a slow wink, the flamingo kind, and dove the ship forward. Entry was not emotion, but a sensation. The hollow star peeled reality in strips and offered them back as jigsaw puzzles. Kai felt himself duplicated, mirrored, multiplied. Voices echoed inside him. One was definitely singing the Terra Nova school anthem. Backwards. A version of him passed on the left, bearded, older, clearly angrier. Another floated nearby, dressed like a pirate and muttering something about space krokens. I don't remember being this weird, Kai said. You haven't seen the goat version yet, said a voice beside him. He turned. Another him stood there holding a cup of tea. Goatme's around here somewhere, said T. Kai. You'll know when you smell hay and unwarranted smugness. Kai blinked. Am I hallucinating? Is this real? Yes, said T. Kai. Also no, both, neither, classic multiversal recursion. You're in a core zone now. Don't get distracted by narrative offshoots. Also, you snore. Kai tried to push forward, though forward was a concept currently having a nervous breakdown. He focused on what Sura had said, on jokes, humor. That primal, stupid, beautiful human thing. He began humming an old comedy jingle. Loudly, terribly, reality rippled, the storm of voices quieted, the pathways aligned. He floated now toward a pulsing point of calm, one pure note in the chaos, the anchor. It glowed softly like a memory of a bedtime story told during a thunderstorm. Kai reached for it. The moment he touched it, everything collapsed. And then rebuilt. He stood alone on a hill, green grass, a blue sky with 3 moons. Sura sat on a bench ahead, reading. "You found it," she said, not looking up. He walked over. "I'm not entirely sure what I found, but yes, there was a pirate me, a goat me, and someone tried to sell me a vacuum cleaner with emotions." She closed the book. "You stayed intact, that's the point. Did I pass?" She looked at him then, really looked. "You endured your own chaos, you didn't run from the absurd, you didn't let the strange..." The training moon smelled faintly of burnt toast and unspoken trauma. Kai didn't ask why. He had learned, through a rapidly growing collection of spacefaring life lessons, that when a place smelled like anything terrestrial and vaguely disappointing, it usually meant it was rigged with emotional peril. Also possibly lasers. The airlock hissed behind him, and he squinted into the artificial sun of Combat Harmony Station Delta 4. The name, like many in his new life, was aggressively misleading. There was little harmony, and he suspected combat might involve being chased by something with too many legs and an accent. Sura stepped out beside him, arms crossed, looking as if she'd just finished composing a symphony with her mind. Trial 2 initiates now. This moon simulates battlefields across 3 galactic wars. The purpose is to test partnership efficacy. Kai winced. Ah yes, nothing says romance like dodging plasma bolts together. You must survive as a bonded pair while maintaining cognitive and emotional synchronization. You will be scored accordingly. Scored, Kai looked up. A scoreboard shimmered in the sky listing pairs of names. Near the bottom, one read. Zorgnath and Linda, 28%. Let me guess, Kai muttered. Linda's still filing for interstellar annulment. Sura blinked at the board. Their combat compatibility was hindered by divergent snack preferences. That's relatable. A loud buzz sounded overhead. A dome of light enclosed the area, and several large, spindly structures began to rise from the ground, stretching like metal spider lilies. Drones dropped from the sky, whirring with anticipation, painted in neon orange and labeled with such friendly terms as Disintegration Protocol Alpha. "And we see you crying, Greg." Greg's voice cheerfully announced, "Combat trial commencing in 3, 2, please don't die 1." The first drone fired. Kai screamed, dove, and landed face first into a patch of soft moss that smelled of roasted almonds and betrayal. "Okay," he shouted. "Maybe we start with communication exercises first." Sura was already moving, twisting midair and flinging a pulse of blue light from her palm. It struck the drone, scrambled its flight pattern, and sent it tumbling into one of the structures, which exploded with unnecessary enthusiasm. Kai crawled toward cover, muttering, "Yup, she's amazing. I'm a flesh-colored liability." "Keep talking," Sura said from somewhere above. "I require emotional frequency calibration." "Talking now," Kai peeked out. 3 drones hovered in unison, scanning for targets. "Fine. My deepest secret is that I once pretended to be allergic to strawberries, because I didn't want to share them with my roommate." The drones pivoted, one twitched, then exploded. "Effective," Sura called out. "You're welcome." He ducked as a beam sizzled past his ear. "Do I get extra points for vulnerability?" A large mechanical sphere rolled into the field and unfolded into something with limbs and opinions. Kai stared at it. "Is that a battle Roomba?" "It is the synchronization judge," Sura said, joining him behind a shimmering wall of kinetic energy. "Its programming reads interpersonal dynamics and evaluates cohesion. We must convince it we function as one unit." "You sure we can't just bribe it with oil? It appreciates poetry." Kai exhaled. "Of course it does." The judge's central eye glowed purple. A voice boomed. "You may begin demonstrating coupled unity. Behold. Stage 1, dual strategy." Sura stepped forward, posture fluid. "We proceed in spiral pattern Omega. I will engage high-altitude targets. You draw their fire with kinetic stumbles and improvised distraction maneuvers." Kai blinked. "That's your plan. I flail and get shot at while you elegantly vaporize things. You excel at unpredictability. Right, great, death by personality." He ran into the field, waving his arms like a malfunctioning windmill and shouting, "Hey! Over here, drone jerks! I smell like meat and poor decisions." A barrage of lasers zipped past him. He yelped, rolled, and landed behind a rock. Meanwhile, Sura leapt, flipping twice in midair and slicing a drone in half with a blade that appeared from her wrist like an afterthought. The scoreboard updated. Kai and Sura 31%. Kai peeked up. "We're gaining points. You successfully distracted them." I screamed and tripped. "Consistently." Another drone swooped low, firing at them. Kai screamed again, mostly out of tradition, then grabbed a nearby loose panel and flung it like a discus. It hit the drone's wing. The drone wobbled. Sura finished it with a flick of her fingers. Kai and Sura, 42%. The judge hovered lower. Stage 2, Emotional Coherence Challenge initiated. Please communicate affection effectively under fire. Kai froze. Wait, what? A new wave of drones descended. Hearts painted on their sides. One shot a beam labeled *doubt. Another fired *insecurity. "Oh, come *on," Kai yelled, ducking. "Are we being attacked by feelings now?" Sura turned to him. "You must express a genuine compliment now." He flailed. Your eyebrows are majestic, like twin comets that never crash." The nearest drone sparked, confused, and fell. "You have good taste in boots," Sura said flatly. "Okay, ouch, but I'll take it." Another drone fired a beam labeled *mild resentment. It narrowly missed. Kai shouted, "You smell like meteor showers and moonlight." "You make illogical decisions that somehow lead to survival." Kai and Sura, 68%. The judge chimed, "Final stage, synchronized execution of meaningful task." A massive drone descended. It was labeled *the argument. It immediately began circling them, spouting conflicting suggestions. "Geo left, no right, she never listens, he always forgets. Why, you recharge the nav core." Kai looked at Sura. "How do we beat that?" "Together," she said. They ran. Kai weaved under the drone, shouting absurdities. "I only pretend to understand star maps," while Sura planted pulse charges in perfect rhythm. On Kai's third pass, he slapped one of the charges, and the whole thing exploded in a burst of pink smoke and confetti. The scoreboard blinked. Kai and Sura, 100%. The dome dissolved. Greg's voice returned. "Trial complete. You did not perish, statistically impressive." Kai dropped to the ground. "I'm going to sleep for 3 days." Sura crouched beside him. "You exceeded expectations." "Yes," he opened one eye. What gave it away? The screaming or the sarcasm? The sincerity? Kai blinked. Was that a compliment? She almost smiled. A mutual one. He lay back and grinned at the sky. Maybe being bonded wasn't so bad after all, especially if you could save the galaxy using love, poetry, and tactical flailing. Kai squinted at the glowing tree. It was floating, for one thing. Roots curled lazily in midair like they were soaking in invisible soil. Its leaves flickered in and out of physicality, pulsing with colors that made his brain itch. Blues that smelled like lemon, oranges that sounded like jazz. At the base of the trunk hovered a placard that read *Caution. Touching memories may trigger sudden clarity or dance-like impulses. "Okay," Kai whispered. "That's not ominous at all." Sura stood beside him, her posture unusually still. Not her normal "you might die any minute" still. This was quieter, like she was bracing for a sneeze from the universe and didn't want anyone to know she was allergic to vulnerability. "This is the memory orchard," she said. "Each tree holds fragments of my thread, key memories, formative echoes. They are not chronological. You will not find a tidy story." Kai nodded slowly. "Messy's fine. I was raised on Earth's streaming culture. I'm used to flashbacks and emotional whiplash." "You must not interfere," she added. "Observe only. The orchard responds to emotional resonance. If you push, it pushes back." "Right. Don't push the ghost tree. Got it." Sura hesitated. "You may begin. I will remain outside." Kai turned. "You're not coming in with me. My presence would influence the memory currents." He opened his mouth to protest, then paused. Her face was calm, but not unreadable anymore. He could see the faint tightness at the corners of her mouth. This meant something, maybe everything. "All right," he said. "Tell Greg to keep my stuff if I get memory evaporated." She gave the barest nod. Kai stepped into the orchard. The first tree blinked to life as he approached, its trunk splitting open like a sideways eye. The memory hit him like a gust of wind made from nostalgia and regret. He was 7, or she was. The perspective was low to the ground, the world oversized and humming with strangeness. She sat on a metal floor, legs tucked beneath her, hands curled into fists. Around her, adults in white robes chanted in a tongue Kai didn't recognize but somehow understood. It was the ceremonial rejection. "You are the divergent strand," a voice said. "You will carry exile with honor." Sura, the tiny, furious version, bit her lip until it bled and said nothing. Kai stumbled backward as the memory released him. "Okay," he muttered. "So childhood trauma, that's a solid opener." The next tree activated without warning. He was in training now, teenage Sura moving like lightning, her limbs a blur, her mind sharpened into something lethal. She sparred with holograms, drones, and occasionally a wall that insulted her tactics in 12 languages. Pain registered only as feedback. A teacher watched from the shadows. "Feel nothing," the voice said. "Emotion corrupts alignment." She nodded, then kicked the teacher in the shin midbow. Kai blinked. "Okay, respect." The orchard shifted. The next tree was already glowing. This time it wasn't pain, it was warmth. She was older in a dimly lit observation deck, her fingers brushing a stasis pod. Inside, a small creature floated, a hybrid, feathered, fragile, possibly illegal. The pod pulsed in time with the beat of her thoughts. "Stay alive," she whispered, "just until I fix this." Then alarms sounded. Someone pounded on the door. She didn't run. She hid the pod beneath the floor and faced the intruders with her back straight and her eyes defiant. Kai wiped his eyes. The orchard went quiet. He turned in place, waiting, listening. "That it?" he asked. "Any more emotionally loaded trees want to throw their sap at me?" One tree remained, at the center of the orchard, massive still. He walked toward it. As he approached, something shifted. The air thickened, not with fear, but with weight. The kind of weight that made your spine straighten because you knew what you were about to see would matter. The trunk unfolded, and Kai was Sura. But not in the past. He stood in a possible future. A battlefield, or what was left of one, scorched metal, flickering sky, stars screaming overhead. Bodies, machines mostly, but some organic, strewn like forgotten promises. And in the center, Sura kneeling, alone, her skin cracked with exhaustion, her hand resting on a fractured control core. "No anchor," she whispered. "No thread left to hold." The sky opened. A fleet descended. She didn't rise, she just waited. And Kai, standing within the memory, felt something tug at his chest. Not metaphorically, not dramatically, literally, like something inside him had recognized its name being called. He shouted, "That's not real." But it didn't change. He reached for her. The memory shattered like glass. He stumbled backward into the orchard. The central tree blinked once, then went dark. Sura stood at the edge, arms still folded, but her posture was different now. Not guarded, braced. "You saw," she said. "I did," Kai said, "and I think you're scared of being left behind." She said nothing. "I've been there," he added. Different scale, smaller explosions, fewer fleets, but same fear. The silence stretched. "I am not built for bonding," she said finally. "Not like this. I'm not exactly a template for stability either. I once got dumped for owning too many decorative mugs. That is not the same." "No, but it's proof I'm familiar with rejection." He took a step forward. "Listen, I'm not asking you to give me the whole thread. I just want to keep walking it, with you, even if some trees scream at me." She finally looked at him. Fully, no shield, no posture, just Sura. Her eyes glowed faintly. Her voice, when it came, was quiet. "Then say it." Kai smiled. "I already said yes." And this time the orchard bloomed. Every tree lit at once. A soft hum filled the air, not sound, but something older. Agreement. Recognition. Sura didn't smile, but she didn't need to. She reached for his hand, and the orchard let them go. Kai tried not to think about how many treaties he might have just broken by agreeing to psychic emotional fusion with a mythological space woman. He sat cross-legged on the edge of the Ilex 9's meditation deck, eating something that tasted like marshmallows and nostalgia. Across from him, Sura was, well, not meditating exactly, more like hovering midair in a pose that implied deep cosmic serenity, except her left eye kept twitching every time Kai crunched. "I'm sorry," he said mid-bite. "Is my snack disrupting your transcendence?" "You chew unevenly," she replied. "I chew rhythmically. It's called casual joy. It is statistically chaotic. Statistically chaotic was our combat trial. This is just me enjoying what your ship insists is a mood cluster biscuit." Sura floated lower, settling onto the floor. "You should prepare. We're entering the Nolarian convergence zone." Kai wiped his fingers on his pant leg. "Sounds exotic. Will there be snacks?" "Potentially orbital lasers." "Also good." A soft chime echoed through the chamber. Greg materialized. His flamingo formed slightly blurrier than usual, as though even he wasn't sure he existed here. Alert, incoming bureaucratic entanglement. Conquered authority vessel, judicious whimsy, approaching at mildly threatening speed. Kai stood up too fast. Wait, judicious whimsy, that's the name of a law enforcement ship. It was named during the era of soft branding, Greg said solemnly. Do they come in peace? They come in paperwork, Sura answered, already gliding toward the ship's central corridor. You are not recognized as a citizen of any galactic alliance. Your current bonding status is considered a diplomatic anomaly. Oh good, Kai said, following. I've always wanted to be classified as an anomaly, adds character. The ship's viewfield shimmered open as they entered the bridge. Sure enough, a sleek vessel shaped like a judgmental swan hovered in front of them, lights blinking in bureaucratic disapproval. Broadcast incoming, Greg said, translating tone to passive-aggressive courtesy. A figure appeared on the holo display, a thin, precise-looking individual with silver spectacles that seemed surgically attached to their face. Greetings. I am Clerk Magistrate Henwell of the Conquered Authorities Interpersonal Treaties Division. Kai gave a two-finger wave. Hi, Kai, Anomaly Earth. Henwell blinked slowly. You are currently engaging in a bonding process with an unregistered sovereign entity. This is in violation of Conquered Regulation 7C, subsection Beta F. Which says what exactly? No one knows. It was written during a caffeine shortage. Sura stepped forward. We are within neutral space. Henwell didn't flinch, and yet the consequences of your union ripple across dimensional boundaries. Our analysts detected a 36% rise in metaphysical instability. That could have been me, Kai offered. I had 2 mood cluster biscuits. Henwell ignored him. We are authorized to detain one or both of you for questioning, preferably separately, emotionally if not physically. Sura's tone cooled. Attempting to separate bonded threads mid-trial could result in psychic fracture. We have helmets. Kai stepped between them. Okay, hold on. Can't we just file the right form or sign a waiver? I'm really good at waivers. Henwell's eyes narrowed. Do you possess Form X998A? Yes, I meant it. Declaration of intent. Kai blinked. That's a real form. It exists in 17 dimensions. Does it have boxes? Boxes, circles, and one square that screams if you tick it incorrectly. Kai looked at Sura. Do you have one of those? I burned it when I left the remnant. Right, of course you did. Henwell sighed, pinching the bridge of their nose. You leave us no choice. Prepare to be boarded. Wait, Kai said, raising his hands. Is there any asterisk way to delay that? Like, say, a challenge? Henwell's brow arched. A challenge. Yes, diplomatic clause 12. Kai guessed. Henwell's eyes flicked to a distant memory. Clause 12 permits temporary delay of administrative action if challenged via ceremonial display of combined aptitude. Sura looked at Kai. What are you doing? Stalling, he whispered. Also maybe saving us with interpretive dance. Kai declared he wasn't wearing the picnic suit. Sura, who had just configured the molecular fabricator to synthesize what she called Asterisk, a culturally appropriate bonding ensemble, Asterisk, stared at him with all the solemn gravity of a judge delivering a verdict on planetary relocation. It adapts to your emotional wavelength, she said. It has ruffles, Kai replied, clutching the shimmering garment. And shoulder fins. Why do the shoulders need fins? They ventilate excitement. I don't even ventilate excitement. I mostly sweat it. Greg chimed in from the corner of the fabrication bay. His flamingo avatar adorned with a festive sash that read Asterisk Love Protocol Observer. Suit scored a 12-point empathy boost in simulations. Also, fashion relevance curve peaked again in Quadrant 7B. It's trending. Kai sighed and stepped into the suit. It shimmered across his body like eager confetti, tightening just enough to make him regret the extra mood cluster biscuit he'd had at breakfast. If I die in this, I'm haunting all of you. Sura inspected him with an unreadable expression. You appear appropriately radiant. You almost smiled. That would be dangerous. To your reputation. To my jaw integrity. Smiling in Thelian tradition implies the baring of combat teeth. It can escalate diplomatic misinterpretations. Well then, Kai said, smoothing his chest fins. No teeth, just awkward eye contact and tentative picnic vibes. The shuttle detached from the Ilex 9 and floated down through the clouds of Lunwar 3, a moon so quiet that even the local microbes were listed on interstellar review sites as respectfully reserved. The terrain was soft and bioluminescent, glowing in tones that shifted politely as they walked. Kai trailed a step behind Sura, letting her set the pace. She had the poise of someone who could lead a galactic negotiation and also probably pilot a starfighter with her knees. "This moon doesn't smell like danger," Kai noted, breathing in the faint scent of something between mint and memory. "It was selected for its emotional neutrality. No traumatic events have ever occurred here. No war. No weddings. Even better, the picnic setup shimmered into place on a flat rise overlooking a glowing lake. The food was already arranged. Floating trays hovered at polite conversation height, offering such delicacies as quantum-spiced crackers emotionally ripe berries, and something that looked suspiciously like a slice of pizza, if pizza had evolved on a planet ruled by bioluminescent crustaceans. Kai sat first, testing the grass, which sighed under him and adjusted slightly for lumbar support. "So," he said, picking up a glowing berry, "do we talk about the future now or just eat and pretend we're not being monitored by a sentient flamingo?" Greg popped into view at a nearby hilltop, waving a tiny flag that said, "You're doing great." Sura's lips twitched. Both options have merit. They ate in silence for a while. It was the good kind, comfortable, easy, only interrupted when Kai made faces at a cracker that tried to dissolve halfway through chewing. "So," he said finally, brushing berry juice from his fingers, "what happens after all this?" Sura looked out at the lake where bioluminescent fish occasionally leapt, forming punctuation marks in the air. "You return to your world, I resume my exile. That's the plan. That is the pattern." Kai leaned back. "See, here I thought we were building something, a little more, off-pattern. Your people call that hope. Yeah, we're annoying like that." Sura studied him for a moment. "Your optimism is irrational." "My optimism has dodged killer drones, navigated the hollow star, and tricked an intergalactic bureaucrat into accepting a dance recital as legal testimony. I'd say it's holding up well. Statistically, only 39% of cross-species bonds succeed long-term. Statistically, 92% of humans leave laundry in the machine for 3 hours too long. We do a lot of things that don't make sense." Greg shouted from the hilltop, "Love is the statistically least efficient form of alliance, also the most popular." Kai turned to Sura. "I don't want to be a statistic, or an anomaly, or an unresolved diplomatic incident." She tilted her head slightly. "Then what do you want?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his satchel, a sleek little pack the ship had generated for him without his input labeled * bonding satchel. Kai addition * and pulled out a small object. It was a ring, not fancy, just a twist of cooled starglass and alloy, humble, honest. Sura stared at it. Kai swallowed. "I don't know if your people do this part, but on Earth this means I don't want to walk away when the ceremony is over. It means I say yes, not just to the trial or the memory trees or the bureaucratic flamingos, but to you. Weird, brilliant, dramatic you." She didn't move, not for a long breath. Then she reached forward, touched the ring gently, and said, "I will require a matching satchel." He grinned. "Is that a yes?" "It is a conditional acceptance, pending long-term atmospheric compatibility." Kai slipped the ring onto her finger. Translation, yes. Greg released a burst of confetti from a drone above and began playing what sounded suspiciously like a romantic remix of the universal anthem of tax compliance. Sura stood and offered Kai a hand. He took it, and together they walked down to the edge of the lake, where the water shimmered with soft colors that didn't exist on any star map. They didn't need words, not for this part. Just shared silence, soft laughter, and the steady unfolding of something new. They didn't know what the next trial would be, but for now it was enough. The picnic ended with a polite planetary tremor. Not a dangerous one, more of a cosmic shrug. The kind of seismic ripple a moon gives when it remembers something embarrassing it did in its tectonic youth. Still, it was enough to knock over the tray of emotional berries and trigger the Ilex 9's emergency callback protocol. Kai wiped glowing juice off his shirt sleeve and said, "Okay, but you have * to admit this was the least stressful date we've had." Sura checked a readout floating above her palm. "We've triggered a Tier 2 entanglement alert. Someone activated a beacon of political concern." Kai blinked. "That's a real thing." "Yes, it's usually disguised as a decorative lamp." The Ilex 9's landing platform materialized around them in a low shimmer, wrapping the moon in goodbye light. Greg floated overhead with a pinwheel in his beak and a look of mild digital concern. Alert. Hostile diplomacy inbound, he said in his cheeriest tone. Recommend evasive maneuvers or aggressive flattery. Sura exhaled. They found us faster than anticipated. Kai brushed berry pulp from his hands. Who's they this time? More conquered agents? Sura's secret fan club, someone suing me for accidental telepathic bonding. Sura hesitated, which was rare. Kai straightened. Wait, who is it? She glanced toward the approaching ships. The Remnant. He blinked again. Your Remnant, the one with the memory trials and cultural stoicism and the war mask fashion line. Yes, Kai rubbed his temples. Of course they show up after the picnic. Why not crash the emotional high with generational pressure? They will attempt to retrieve me. Well, they can't. You're bonded. We did all the things. The memory trees glowed. Greg made a playlist. Greg added, it was titled *Galactic Affection, Vol 2. Sura looked at Kai. Her voice was calm, but there was a thin edge to it, like a blade waiting to see if it would be drawn. They do not recognize the bond unless it is validated by the Council of Threads. And I'm guessing they don't accept picnic rings and romantic sarcasm as legal evidence. Not typically. Kai ran a hand through his hair. So what's the plan? We run, we negotiate, we build a pillow fort and hope they respect emotional architecture. We prepare for confrontation. He raised a brow. Confrontation with your people. They are not my people anymore. That sounds cool and dramatic, but I'm pretty sure it's also emotionally complicated and probably full of unspoken trauma. She didn't answer. The docking bay doors opened with a soft asterisk chime of diplomatic doom asterisk, and 3 figures entered, tall, robed, glowing faintly with the soft menace of civilizations that had too many syllables in their titles. They moved like wind, calculated and aware. One stepped forward, female, face etched with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in rhythm with her words. Sura. Sura inclined her head, neither deferent nor hostile. Matron Vyra. Kai whispered to Greg, she looks like she can bench press reality. She once dissolved a rebellion with a poem, Greg whispered back. Vyra's gaze shifted to Kai. It was not unkind, but it was the look someone gave to a child who had just drawn on a priceless painting. This is the anomaly, she said. Kai waved. Hi, Kai Earth, unintentionally romantic. You have entangled yourself in rites you do not comprehend. Yeah, that's pretty on brand for me. Vyra's eyes narrowed. You have disrupted an ancient rite of succession. Kai blinked. Wait, succession, your royalty. Sura didn't flinch. I declined the thread crown before departure. It defaulted to ceremonial stasis. Vyra's voice was ice in a silk box. Until such time as the Strand Initiator returns or is confirmed erased. Kai frowned. You're telling me this bonding thing made her empress of your people. No, Sura said. The bonding made us emperors. Kai's eye twitched. I'm sorry, what? Greg played a dramatic sting from somewhere above. Vyra lifted her hand. We have come to offer you a choice. Renounce the bond, return with us, begin the thread ascension, or face unraveling. Kai opened his mouth. Sura beat him to it. No. Vyra blinked. You refuse. Sura stepped forward. I have walked the hollow star. I have shown my thread. I have been seen. Vyra's eyes flared. You would throw away the crown for this. Sura turned to Kai. He looked ridiculous in his mood-activated bonding suit. He had buried juice on his collar. His hair was still sticking up from emotional panic. But he was standing there, not running, not hiding, just being with her. Yes, she said. Kai looked between them. I feel like I should say something profound here, but honestly I'm just hoping no one tries to vaporize me in the next 5 minutes. Vyra stepped back. So be it, but understand this choice severs your line, you forfeit legacy, memory, future claims. I already have my future, Sura said. Greg whispered. That would have been an excellent closing line. The remnant departed without fanfare, vanishing through a shimmer of folded time. The hangar fell silent. Kai turned to Sura. So, royalty, huh? It was irrelevant. No, see, I am irrelevant. You are basically Space Queen. I am bonded. He smiled. Well, if I'd known all it took to overthrow a dynasty was one picnic and some jazz hands, I'd have brought cupcakes. Greg floated past with a banner that read * long may they snack. And somewhere far above the stars, the thread crown dimmed quietly in its chamber, waiting for a new story to begin. Kai woke up with confetti in his mouth. This wasn't entirely unexpected. Greg had been on a celebratory bender since the remnant left, triggering the ship's party subroutines with the fervor of a cosmic wedding planner who had waited millennia for an excuse. The Ilex 9 had spent the last 2 hours cycling between atmospheric mood lighting and a playlist called Bonded, but still emotionally available, deluxe edition. At some point someone, possibly Greg, possibly Kai, had programmed the food synthesizer to dispense nothing but sparkling pastries and congratulatory smoothies. Kai wiped glitter from his forehead and stumbled toward the control deck. "Okay," he muttered. "We've established the bond, dodged the bureaucracy, danced our way past doom, and rejected an imperial crown. I'd say we've earned at least a nap and some low-stakes existential meaning." Sura stood already at the helm, her posture relaxed in a way it had never been before, shoulders lowered by 2 centimeters, according to the ship's unsolicited mood report. "You are late for the post-bond calibration check," she said without turning. "I was trapped under a small landslide of celebratory muffins. A worthy adversary." Kai took the co-pilot's seat and spun it twice for flair. "So, what now? We fly into the sunset, start a space smoothie bar, build an interstellar counseling service for emotionally confused aliens." Sura tapped a panel. "The Conquered Authority has updated your status. You are now registered as a recognized interspecies bonded entity. Also, they've sent a fruit basket. Tell me it doesn't glow. It whispers encouragement when you hesitate." Kai leaned back. "I think that's what fruit has always been trying to do." The ship drifted through the quieter arm of the sector, where stars hummed politely, and navigation was mostly a matter of not sneezing on the controls. Greg hovered in, wearing a monocle now, because of course he was. "Congratulations again," he chirped. "You've completed the rite of alignment, survived the hollow star, bested combat trials, passed bureaucratic inspection, rejected royalty, and established a confirmed dual-thread continuum." "Yeah," Kai said, rubbing his eyes. "It's been a weird month. Would you like to select a celebratory title?" Kai perked up. "Options." Greg projected a list. "Defender of the Thread, Unexpected Sovereign, Bonded Being 7, Captain of Emotional Whiplash, Emperor of Snacks." Kai pointed. "That one, Emperor of Snacks confirmed." Sura looked sideways at him. "You are taking this with more levity than anticipated." Kai shrugged. "If I don't laugh, I'll just sit here and panic about how far I've come from being a bartender with commitment issues and an overactive mouth." "You have not only survived, your emotional metrics have improved by 31%. "I'm not crying, you're crying." "Incorrect, I do not cry." Yet, they stared at each other, her lips twitched, his eyes crinkled. Greg made a sound like a sentimental kazoo and respectfully exited. Kai leaned forward. "You know, I think the weirdest part is that I didn't know I was looking for this. For me. For asterisk something. For a connection that didn't come with strings tied to expectations or performance reviews. I spent so long floating through things, and then you showed up and just stared at me like I had said something important. You had." He smiled. "That still weirds me out, by the way." "Good, it should. Important things are rarely comfortable." They sat quietly for a while, the ship coasting along a drift current powered by starlight and leftover narrative tension. The stars outside